On Fridays and Saturdays. Back on the Patrick Netherton Show, we welcome in the voice of the Texas Longhorns. He also does a lot of work for high school football in the state of Texas. He is Craig Way. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Patrick. Great to be on with you. How you doing?
Man, I am good. So everyone in Louisiana, everyone seems to be able to talk about is the running backs for Texas. Are they down to you at this point? Like, what's going on with the running back core for UT, man?
I've been asked a few times if I had any eligibility remaining, which is interesting because I was never asked if I had any eligibility remaining when I actually had eligibility remaining.
Go.
It's been that kind of week, and it's been that kind of really going back really into August. It's been that kind of fall camp. It's just I've never seen anything like it. I know Tom Herman was asked at his news conference if he'd ever heard of anything like that, let alone see anything like that. He said no, he'd never even heard of one position losing 5 running backs since the spring, and 4 of them being scholarship running backs. So it's definitely taken its toll. There's no question about that.
Well, and that being said, Craig, you do happen to have a somewhat of an extra runner in the backfield with Ehlinger. Does this become a game where he gets more designed runs, you think, more work himself as opposed to just trying to scramble and make things happen?
Well, Patrick, I think he's going to run the ball more anyway than what he ran against, La Tech last
Sure.
week. I think he'll, if you look at the higher profile games or the more crucial games that Texas has had, mainly in conference play, but also in the Sugar Bowl, at that point, Sam Ehlinger was carrying it double-digit times. So I think we'll see that happen. Not only by necessity, but also by design this week, because he is a bit of a weapon in the way he can run the football. So I think we'll see that. I don't think they'll go overboard. I don't think you're going to see Sam carry it 20 to 25 times, something like that. But he'll carry it but they only had one true design running play called for him. He put it down a couple other times and ran when there wasn't anyone open, but there was only one real true design run play called last week against La Tech. So I think we'll see more of it against LSU this week.
A lot was made about Jamar Smith last week throwing for over 300 yards, but as I'm quick to point out to folks, a lot of that was in mop-up time. It was, as our friend Brent Musburger might say, garbage time at that point. I'm curious, a lot is made of Texas and the DBU and LSU and the DBU. A lot is kind of going back and forth about that. I've got to imagine that UT feels like that back end of the defense is really the stalwarts and what they feel like their strength is. Am I wrong in saying that?
Not at all, Patrick. I think they do feel that's put it this way. It's where they have the most depth. I think it's where they have among their defensive players their most talented core. Now they've got some young guys back there. There's no doubt about it. There's some guys there who that are redshirt freshmen or sophomores. But there are guys who are sophomores and juniors, certainly, who got a lot of reps last year. I mean, probably the best of the group is Caden Stearns, and he's preseason All-Big 12, and he's only a sophomore. Now, Brandon Jones is kind of the anchor back there, along with B.J. Foster. Foster's only a sophomore. Jones is a senior, but there's not a lot of guys who are long in the tooth. So there's some young guys there, and they will make mistakes on occasion, but there are some guys that are pretty talented that can get to the football and get in position to make a play as well. A
lot was made after the big win last year, the bowl win of, Ehlinger getting there and saying we're back on the podium and all that. I know that probably has to be, I guess, to somewhat cringeworthy in one way, but also pretty galvanizing in another way. What's it been like watching this kid who, an Austin kid, he's been a UT guy, knew he was going to UT from the beginning, even through the coaching change, knew he was staying. What's it been like watching him sort of, I don't say on his own, but he has been a very big galvanizing force in this program. What's that been like watching him?
Well, you're right, Patrick. I think he's grown. I think he's matured a bit. Yeah, there was the comment made there on the stage, and he's feeling the moment, and Holly Rose asking him the question. It's the big hook. I mean, and for folks who don't know, that goes all the way back to Joe Tessitore, who said it, after that Labor Day Sunday night win, I guess, over Notre Dame, where he proclaimed Texas is back. Nobody in Texas said that. That was Joe who did that, and all of a sudden it became a cry of derision for those who got the better of Texas, especially during Charlie Strong's final year. But even since that, Tom Herman has said all along, I don't know what that means. And in truth, he said to say we're back is kind of like a point of finality, and that's not complimentary because he said we're always trying to get better, always trying to work toward that. I think what Stan was trying to say is, we're back on the national stage again. Are they? Well, this week will tell an awful lot about it. But Sam's grown and matured since then, I think, and the stuff we saw from him last Saturday, I think, saw little glimpses of that and the things he's had to say in fall camp. And there have been some reporters here in town this week that tried to get him to take the bait a little bit, try to get him, if you will, to go a little bit of Caleb Chase on, and he didn't do it, and just said, "I'm going to." And by the way, that's a bit of trivia thing. I was calling the state championship game for Fox going on 4 years ago in 2015, and Sam had Westlake in the finals against North Shore with Caleb, who was anchoring that defensive front. They had an incredible game, went overtime, and Westlake missed a chip shot field goal, and North Shore ended up winning the game in overtime. So it's there's the one other a little bit of trivia that links those two as they get ready to see each other on Saturday.
I've got to imagine, talking to Craig Way, the voice of the Longhorns, I've got to imagine that's pretty cool because you do television work on Fridays for high school football in the state of Texas, then you do the radio network for the Longhorns. That's got to be pretty cool to see guys like Caleb Chase on. Even if they don't end up in the burnt orange, they're off doing something, but you can say you kind of saw them when they were coming into their own as high school juniors and seniors and whatnot. I imagine that's pretty cool for you to then see these guys move on and watch them grow.
Well, it is, and I'll give you two other names. Kyler Murray called all three of his state championship games when he was playing at Allen before, going on, and, he had his you might say his way station, his stop-off in College Station before he wound up at OU and winning Heisman. But to let folks know exactly or give them a better feel for just how old I am, I called Westlake's only state championship victory for Fox Southwest back in 1996 when the Chaparrals were quarterbacked by Drew Brees.
Yeah.
So that's how far back that goes, and it's been great. I've been doing it for over 30 years and really enjoy it. I don't plan to give that up any more than giving up doing the Longhorns. They've kind of been inextricably linked with me. I really enjoy doing both the high school football and doing the Longhorn games.
Well, having seen you up close and personal, Craig, I find it amazing you were doing games at 9 years old because you definitely do not look like you've been doing games for over 30 years. If you'll allow me to blow if you'll allow me to blow some smoke up your skirt just for a second. Give me, for those that are listening that want to know a little bit about Louisiana Tech. Obviously, you saw them last week. They were overmatched, as you would expect they would be. But what did you see from La Tech and maybe some folks that are listening in Ruston or around here that are Tech fans? What should they take some heart into going into this season?
Well, I still think they're going to win a lot of ball games and be a contender in CUSA. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I kind of keep up with what's going on in Conference USA as well because I went to North Texas. Yeah. And obviously, they play in that league, so I kind of keep up with them with what's going on there. But I like Jay Marsden. I think he can be a good weapon for them. And he's obviously, it's now 28 games as a starter now for them. The Longhorns did a really good job defending Adrian Hardy. I thought that Jalen Green, speaking of those young running backs, did a really fine job on him. But he's going to have his days, and I think they'll find a way to run the ball against a lot of the other opponents here. I think they'll still be a contender in Conference USA. I don't think there's any question about that. It's a veteran ball club by and large of what Skip Holtz has. So if I were a Bulldog fan, I wouldn't be too downcast by what happened last week. I think there's better days ahead for them.
Absolutely. Talking to Craig Way, the voice of the Longhorns. What did you make of? I know you've gone back and watched or got to see the LSU game against Georgia Southern. What did you make of the new offense for LSU? Folks in Louisiana have been sold this. Hey, this is a new offense this year, and it's always the same stuff. But it really does appear like LSU has modernized their offense. It's something you've gotten to watch for a while now. at Texas with the spread and the read option, a lot of that stuff. What did you make of what you saw from LSU?
Yeah, they look a lot like the Big 12 offense now. And while some folks may roll their eyes about that with regard to Big 12 versus SEC, the one complementary piece that folks could always point to with the Big 12 is the offense.
Yeah.
And I think LSU has that. They are passing a lot to set up the run, but I think they're still going to run the ball effectively. I don't see them being a ground and pound, 9-6 versus Alabama game type of offense anymore. I do think it's a team that's going to be able to put points on the board. They obviously have a really talented quarterback in Joe Burrow, who looks very much the part of a guy who can play anywhere and has been at 2 hallmark programs now starting at Ohio State. So, the offense, what has been put in, and the synergism, I think, with the offensive staff led by Steve Ehlinger, I think that folks are going to see just how explosive this offense can be. And with that defense, yeah, there's a reason they're number 6. There's a reason they're a contender on the national stage. And there's a reason they'll be a legitimate threat in the SEC West.
If you had to pick a guy on UT's squad that you think is maybe not getting the kind of national run that he should be getting, but is a guy that could be someone that maybe rises to prominence or plays a role coming up this game that we'll see, because everyone's going to be tuned into this one. Do you have a guy or two that you look at and say, okay, he's kind of an unknown commodity right now, but this could be a breakout for him?
Well, I would say this. If they are to do what they want to do, to be in position to win, the one of the key question marks going into the season was going to be on the defensive side, and then specifically at the linebacking spot. And Joseph Osai is a guy who comes out. He wasn't a starter last year. Much was made of the fact that the Longhorns lost 8 defensive starters, but there were a lot of guys who played a lot of snaps, and he was one of those. In fact, Joe was the leading tackler in the Sugar Bowl. He's one of those hot motor guys that plays with a lot of emotion and all that kind of stuff. He'll be off the edge, and if he has a big game, I think folks will be talking about him. The folks in these parts kind of know a bit about him, but he's really going to be on the front pages, I think, if he has a big-type game on Saturday night. And then on the offensive side, yeah, they're going to have to find a way to run the football. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And Keontae Ingram hasn't had a game where he's carried more than 19 times. That's another guy. You're asking about high school guys. I called a couple of his state championship games when he played at Carthage, not far from where you are over there in East Texas. And he was dynamic. He was something else. And yeah, that was high school, it was 4A and all that kind of stuff. True, but the way that he ran and the way that he had pull-away speed and all that kind of stuff was pretty exciting. I thought this guy, if he stays healthy, could be something big. Well, he hadn't been able to stay healthy. He's put on some more weight this year. He was a little bit sore in fall camp, but he says all of that soreness is gone from his knees. He feels fine. He feels good. And if he has the kind of breakout game, then a lot of folks will be talking about him, and then they'll worry a little less about the lack of depth at the running back spot.
Craig, final thing. Do you have any feel for if you think this may be a defensive battle or if it's going to be kind of an old school, I say old school, new school Big 12 shootout type game?
I think there's going to be a little bit of a taffy pull on both sides. I think you'll see some big plays made on both sides. I could see this being a 28-24, 31-28 kind of game, which is climbing the ladder on points, but it's not like some of the ones we've seen in the Big 12 where you've had 51-48 or 48-45. That was the Texas-Oklahoma score when they played in Dallas last year, was 48-45, and then when they met in the Big 12 championship game, it was 39-27, and it was 27 all going into the fourth quarter. This could be, I don't think it might be at that point, but I do think that it won't be 14-10 either. I'd be surprised if it was. It could be anywhere from the 24-21 to 31-28 kind of range in my view.
Well, there's no doubt that not only the eyes of Texas, but the eyes of the nation are going to be on Darrell K. Royal. No doubt about that. And Craig, where can we find you if we want to tune into your broadcast of the game? I'm assuming y'all are on Sirius XM, and we can find you online and all that.
That's correct, and it will be on Sirius, and I'm going to say it's in the 130s, the channel this week, and the XM channel should be 199, which is Big 12 channel there. It's online for free at TexasSports.com as well, and and all across the state, obviously, on the Texas Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield IMG College. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, we're out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not hard to find if you know where you're looking. Craig, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you're busy this week, and looking forward to a great one this weekend.
My pleasure, Patrick. Good to see you.
And tell my boy Gary Reasons I said hello, all right? Calm him down.
I will. No doubt about that.
All right, brother. Craig Way, good stuff. Voice of the Longhorns.